Very good evening to everybody. My name is Arijit, as I represent HAPPAY. So the topic that I'm going to talk today would be about how digital payments are fueling growth in India. Right? It's a very general topic. We all know a lot about digital payments, and a lot is happening since demonetization. So what I'll do is I will just brush over the macro perspective of how digital payments are actually affecting the economy of India today. Now, BCG made a statement that by 2020, digital payments would be a $500 billion industry. I really don't know if that's a fact. I mean, I really don't know what's going to happen in 2020. Some of us may agree, some of us may not. But what is more important is, currently today, how is digital payments affecting an ecosystem which is directly impacting the economy of India? So, I believe it is a triangle today, where the supply and demand is going hand in hand currently in India in terms of the digital space. So, in the triangle, we have three coordinates. Similarly, from my theory, I believe there are three coordinates in this entire industry. Number one, government initiatives. Number two, socio-economic factors. Number three would be technology. So, let's start with government initiatives. Now, government has evolved. They have realized that the digital payments is a big chunk of contribution to the GDP directly. They realize that. If you see facts, today currently spends on digital payments is contributing to 15% of the gross domestic production, which is quite a decent number, right? And government is also taking quite a few promising initiatives to make sure they reach a higher number. So currently with demonetization, it proves it that government is taking bold moves, because they realize that the more and more currency that gets cut down in the industry, the more and more impact it would be on the GDP of the country. Now, I read in some article where it states that digital payments contribute to 1.2 lakh crore in India, and government is targeting to take that figure to 3 lakh crore. Now, this gap, what they're trying to do is trying to reduce the gap between the actual currency that is required in the industry, in the market, versus the required currency, right? So the moment the gap reduces, obviously it will have a positive impact on the overall economic data. Now, let's talk about the socio-economic factors, right? Now, theory of economics states that there are four major factors that affect the economic growth of any country for that matter, which is consumption, investment, government spends, and exports, right? Now, consumption is what I'm going to go a little deeper into. Now, consumption is a very crucial part of basically a country's growth. And today, keeping that in mind, digital consumers cannot be ignored anymore. Now, who are these digital consumers, right? You and I are the key drivers of this digital space. We are the ones who are creating the demand, right? Now, 50% of Indian population is in the age group of, say, 20 to 45, which we all know, right? But out of which 25% would be tech savvy and would belong to the fast generation. Why? Because we want things simple, we want things faster, we want things more convenient. And digital platforms are giving us an opportunity. So 60% of our income is spent on consumption. Now, where do we spend? Where do you and I spend? We spend on transportation, healthcare, entertainment, hospitality, right? So now these spends are increasing day and day. So compared to 2015, there has been 30% increase in the spends on these categories, right? And 60% of the overall spends are happening digitally today, right? Why? Because of course, each and every one of us have smartphones. The behavior is changing. Like, we nowadays don't go over the counter and book tickets for a movie. We don't go over the counter and book tickets for, railway. So everything is done on the phone, because of the plethora of penetration of smartphones today, plus the adaptability of technology in terms of network, right? In terms of network providers giving us a faster speed. So these all things are basically aggregating the behavior of us for us to change or transform into a smarter spender. Now let's talk about the third coordinate. The third coordinate is basically technology. So if we are the demand, there has to be a supply. So technology is basically what is providing us the platform where we have the availability to make these spends. Today you talk about any segment for that matter. Each and every segment today has a digital platform where we can make payments through either credit card or e-wallet or net banking. So today there are e-wallets, the e-commerce sections, we have the Swiggies, we have Ola, Uber, we have Book My Show, IRCTC. So name a segment and there is a digital platform there. So this is basically initiating or boosting the entire process for us to move more and more into a digital, into a digital cashless economy. Now, if you talk about, say, again, if you talk about technology, say, I'll give you two important facts. Like, there are a lot of players in the market who are growing fast, and they are growing drastically. Not just by 2x, 3x, they're growing by 10x, right? Why? Because there is some scope, there's a huge scope in this industry. And for example, Uber. Of course, demonetization happened, and that's a big cost to it. But Uber has grown by 258% in the last 4.5 to 5 months, which is huge, right? And if you talk about IRCTC, I'll give you an interesting fact. In 2002, IRCTC used to do just 29 to 30 ticket bookings per day. Can anybody guess what the rate, what the amount is today? It's 13 lakh. Today, 13 lakh tickets have been booked on IRCTC. Just imagine the transformation. So, something is happening right in our country, right, for this to work out this way. Now what I want to get into is, which is my domain, B2B segment, right? Now, we are missing a big part where we are only focusing on the consumer side, where how I will order my food, how I will book my, movie tickets. And that's where technology is coming into play, right? Most of the startups, most of the new entrepreneurs are working really hard to give the consumer an easier way of life. But what about the businesses? Now, I am a hardcore B2B sales guy. Now, I have been in B2B sales for 3 years, and I have seen no innovation happening in that segment. Very few. HAPPAY being one of the very few companies that are trying to provide a solution to B2B fintech segment. Now, if you talk about B2B, businesses need to get a cashless solution more than the consumers. Cash transactions are a hassle to them rather than us, because they are the ones who need to track where the money is being spent. They are the ones who need to monitor the expenses. They are the ones who need to book those expenses, right? So they are the ones who are in real need of a solution. Today, HAPPAY is providing that. In my experience, I've been working for HAPPAY for almost 3 years. We launched a expense management platform directly integrated with Visa, and this was launched in 2013. And today, we have 3,500 customers who are our partners. Now, there has to be a big need out there for us to get such a applauding response, right? And in the last 4 months, we have seen almost 1,000 companies join us. That is, of course, because of demonetization. So what I'm trying to say is, any company today would want to go into a cashless operation. And these companies who are with us have got it because they currently have moved to a cashless operation with 100% visibility and transparency on their company's processes, on their company's spends, on their company's operations. Right? Now what I want to address is, if there is a need, and this need has always been there. Only thing, we have been the first movers, and we have been probably lucky enough to predict this need and make the most of it. But of course, there is a need in a lot of other segments in B2B, not just expense management. Banks are trying their best, right? Banks are trying to come out with more, smarter corporate programs. They're coming out with various kinds of prepaid cards. They are trying their bit, but they have their challenges. The challenges are, regulations is a big challenge for banks. Bandwidth, they don't have the bandwidth to, focus their manpower to one, one particular startup venture, whereas they can earn revenue from 1,000 other avenues. So this is something that young entrepreneurs have to think about. Rather than focusing more on B2C, there is a huge opportunity out there in the B2B where businesses give you higher revenue, they are sustainable, and they are long-term business, and there is a big need. There's a need in terms of payroll management, there's a need in terms of your inventory management. You talk about it and there's a need. So today in retail sector, I can still see some kind of innovation happening where people are trying to come out with platforms where they can place orders, manage orders, and control their shelf space online. So all that is happening, but it could have been much higher, and it could have happened in a much larger scale, which did not. But B2C, yes, it has, and it has grown beautifully. And the way I see it, if these three coordinates, which I was talking about, these three triangle coordinates, if they work hand in hand, I mean, 100% cashless economy is inevitable. Nobody can stop that from happening in our country. All we have to do is just maintain our own lifestyle, our behavioral change, the way it is changing, we should just let it change. We should not have any hindrance to change. Simple as that. So currently, if you talk about facts, like mobile phones are increasing, internet connections are there everywhere almost. So, I mean, there is technology that's supporting us. We as consumers should also be a part of it and move slowly towards this kind of space, which will eventually come and create a corruption-free and a completely organized market in India where, of course, government will get their due taxes, overall the country will grow and there will be income. So I know it's a broad subject, but if you talk about it independently, if you look at yourself, you are a key contributor to this, right? So, but things will change as the next generation comes, things will change because technology will also grow. But my point of view was basically, although we are growing, one segment is being ignored which is way behind, which is B2B. Like I would urge and I would try to promote as much as possible to this segment where entrepreneurs should try and come out with opportunities to help the companies out there, corporates out there, which is a large market, right, which HAPPAY currently is doing. So we have seen change in our consumer needs, our companies, corporate needs from year on year, because initially we just had a small software where we were just giving one aspect of expense reporting. Today we have moved to in-depth integration with any software if possible. We have moved to expense workflows, we have moved to company policies, we have moved to API integration. So we are also evolving along with the corporates. So there is a need out there which we are addressing, and there are so many other corporates who would need a technology-based platform for their other segments or other operations. So overall, I will keep it short. I like to sum it basically by saying that we are walking towards a cashless economy. In fact, not walking, we are running towards a cashless economy, and that is completely inevitable if all three factors work hand in hand in India today. Thank you.